What's good, y'all? Dr. Trehunna. So a lot of my clients are women who are on high blood pressure pills, and we all know that the silent killer is high blood pressure or hypertension. So a lot of my clients is like, hey Trey, I'm reading this label and I can see that every single time that they look at this label, they're always looking at how much sodium something got. Well, Trey, I have high blood pressure. I need to watch out for my sodium. So today, what we're gonna talk about is why you do not need to watch out for your sodium and why sodium does not cause high blood pressure. Is what you're putting the sodium on that causes high blood pressure. Cool?
Hey guys, my name's Michelle, Anita,
Sarah, Julia, Peyton, Talia,
Jazz, Marquita.
I'm a physique.
Product. Period. We love to see.
So first things first, we was all taught at a very young age, especially if you have a family member that's dealing with high blood pressure. They're taking a calcium C antagonist, they're taking an ACE inhibitor, etc. We was all taught that the more salt you put on something, the more it's gonna raise your blood pressure. Is there any truth to that? Of course. But is that the main thing that causes high blood pressure? Hell no. Let me explain. So when you give your body any type of salt, your kidneys is actually the thing that's filtering how much salt you have in your body. Your body wants to have a good amount of salt, but your body wants to also have a good amount of potassium. The problem with Americans, we eat a lot of salt, but we do not get a lot of potassium because what a lot of Americans fail to have in their diet is vegetables. Leafy green vegetables. The things that has the highest amount of potassium, which is to offset the sodium, is leafy green. But the average American consume majority of their vegetables coming from potato, which is a starch. And last time I checked, nobody's eating a dry potato. You're putting salt on a potato. Keep that in mind. So if salt does raise your blood pressure acutely, when it's all said and done, acutely means for a short time span, all right? So unless you are somebody who's eating 6 to 7 to 8 times a day and you're just throwing salt on everything, that is not the main culprit, all right? But what doctors do not care to explain to clients, keyword clients, not patients, but clients, is that the salt is not the issue. It's what you want to put the salt on. When people put a lot of salt on any type of thing, they're putting it on what? They're putting it on beef. They're putting it on potato. They're putting it on French fries. They're putting it on, majority of the times, a starch. African Americans, we like to put salt and pepper on our rice, right? But when you look at people from Asian descent, they don't put any salt on that. So it is the combination of what we put salt on that is the issue. So one thing I want you to remember when it comes to human physiology, when you do not give your body something, it's gonna hold on more to something else. Cholesterol. Let's say, because we all was taught that eggs is bad for you, raise your cholesterol. If your body does not get any cholesterol exogenously, which means from an outside source, your body's liver is gonna actually pump out more cholesterol endogenously, okay? So if you do not give your body any salt, your body's alarm system is going off and it's saying,
hey, well, we're not getting salt. We need to hold on to as much salt as possible.
So now your body's gonna hold on to it through a lot of endocrine hormones such as angiotensin, renin, aldosterone, and all of these things I just named basically makes your body hold on to a little bit more sodium. And if your body's holding on to a little bit more sodium, then that means it's gonna be a little bit more blood in your body. And this is a little bit more blood and fluid in your body, your blood pressure is gonna go up. So at the end of the day, not only you giving your body too much salt can cause high blood pressure, but also you giving your body an inadequate amount of salt can give you high blood pressure. So you're probably thinking, all right, Trey, well, what the hell I gotta do? What can I do to lower my blood pressure, right? It is simple. You need to stop having processed carbs. So when you look at that label, right? Funny how when you look at potatoes, they don't got a label. It's funny how when you look at majority of vegetables, they don't have a label unless they're already prepackaged for you. The main reason why is because these things naturally don't have a whole lot of extra ingredients to it, right? But let's say me and you are in business and we're trying to sell a food product, but we gotta keep in mind this food product gotta still be edible when our consumer picks it up. Not only we gotta manufacture it, not only we gotta prepackage it, not only we gotta test it, but then we gotta ship it out. Then not only when it gets shipped out, it's gonna stay on the shelf. It might be on that shelf for 3 to 4 months until somebody decides to pick up that exact same box that we are promoting, pick it up, and then they're gonna take that box and sometimes they're gonna sit in their pantry for a month or two. Throughout that whole entire process, probably 4 to 5 months past. So what we have to do if we want to stay in business is we gotta add some preservatives, additives, emulsifiers, and salt. So when our consumer decides to eat it, it is still edible, right? So that's why if you actually pay attention to all the things that you have in your house, that is ultra processed foods, things that comes in a bag, box, or barcode, you're gonna realize that the sodium is kind of strikingly high. If you look at some of your dressings, they got sodium in it, and a lot of sodium in it. When you look at some of your seasonings, they have a lot of sodium in it. When you look at some of your cereals, when you look at some of your juices, they got sodium in it. Why? Because it's still gotta be edible. It's still gotta have a certain type of taste when you choose to pick it up. The main key macronutrient hold on to sodium regardless will be carbs. Carbohydrate. Okay? So when you give your body any type of carbs, insulin is spiked. So if you're somebody who's a follower of me, you already know what insulin does. Insulin is a storage hormone. Your body does not want to burn fat anymore. It wants to store the nutrients that you're providing it, right? But when insulin goes up, aldosterone goes up. What aldosterone is, it's a hormone that is excreted out your kidneys, and aldosterone tells your body to retain and hold on to sodium. So at the end of the day, insulin and aldosterone is tethered. If one goes up, the other one's gonna go up. But if insulin is going up and aldosterone is going up, insulin forces your body to excrete out aldosterone, and aldosterone forces your body to retain sodium, and you are somebody that eats 5 to 6 times a day, then you're keeping your blood pressure up, because you're keeping your sodium up. That's why if you pay attention to people who has edema, which means they got a lot of fluid in their legs or ligaments, these are people who are diabetic. 99% out of 10. If you are diabetic, you are also somebody that's dealing with high blood pressure, because that is a problem with your endocrine system or with your hormones. So if insulin is staying high and aldosterone is staying high, which is making your body retain water, and you have fluid in your legs, and we only see people who got a lot of fluid in their legs or their lower extremities, if they are diabetic, it makes sense. And not only that, but if you're not giving your body enough salt, your adrenaline goes up and your noradrenaline goes up, because you're actually stressing out your body. And we already know that if you're stressing out your body, that is a stress hormone or catecholamine, and that is a glucose corticoid, which means when your body's stressed out, your body's going to release something called sugar through a process called gluconeogenesis. So when it's all said and done, it's not that simple. You deciding to not have salt on your food is going to actually do more damage. And the reason why is because you are stressing your body out and you're raising your risk for heart disease, not just blood pressure. You might have lowered your blood pressure for a day or two, but you raised your risk of heart disease. And last time I checked, the whole purpose of keeping your blood pressure lower is to decrease your risk for heart disease. But this is the information that doctors is not telling their clients. You're not a patient, okay? So once again, if you decide to cut out your processed carb, that is the main driver of high blood pressure, because you have to cut out your insulin being spiked all day long to make your aldosterone drop. And if your aldosterone drops and your renin drops, your blood pressure naturally is gonna decrease. So I don't want you to keep taking these water pills. The water pills is not gonna help if you're eating donuts right after that, okay? You can take your calcium C antagonist, or you can still take your ACE inhibitors if you're somebody who's been prescribed the medicine. If you're taking this ACE inhibitor just to come home, eat a whole large fry from McDonald's, you taking it for no reason, okay? So you need to cut out processed carbs. And it's ironic how all these processed foods have a lot of sodium in it, but you don't taste the salt. The reason why is because we're gonna mask the salt with sugar. That's why when you have French fries, you ever had Wingstop French fries? If you pay attention to Wingstop French fries, they are very salty, but you don't really taste it. But you know why? They add sugar on their fries. But now if you had mashed potato, right, and you salted it to taste, if you put too much salt or even a dab too much of salt inside your potato, you naturally do not want to eat it, because your body's picking up the senses that it is too salty, right? But if I can mask it with sugar, you're not gonna be able to taste it. That's why processed foods are so edible, and you can just eat 1 chip, 2 chips, 10 chips, 40 chips, because you're not gonna be able to taste how salty they really are, because it's masked with sugar, all right? So do not be afraid of salt. If you're somebody who's like, okay, well, Trey, that makes sense. How much salt is too much salt? You want to have at least 4 grams of salt on average, or 4 grams of sodium a day. That's not too bad, okay? Too little salt is 1,500 grams of salt, all right? That's too little, and you can actually do more damage than good if you're having that amount of salt. Now, if you're also looking at me and saying, okay, well, Trey, how can I get more potassium in? seasoning. Get some leafy greens into your diet, and please, not lettuce. That is not a leafy green. I'm talking about a dark leafy green. Spinach, arugula, kale, watercress, endive, bok choy. Those. Have more of those, okay? And if you are somebody who's like, okay, well, Trey, I'm just not a person who eats a lot of vegetables. Cool. Add some nutritional yeast into your diet that is rich in potassium, and that should help you out as well. Last but not least, there's actually some salts that you can get in the seasoning sections, and it's called potassium salt. So it's a derivative, just like sodium has its own form of seasoning. Potassium can also have its own form of seasoning. So buy some potassium salt, and if you're somebody who just really need to watch out for their blood pressure, miss dash seasonings, because some people are actually a little bit more salt sensitive. 1 out of 4 African Americans are salt sensitive, and 1 out of 2 people who is pre-diabetic is salt sensitive. So it is in your best interest to have better quality seasonings, and you can get that from Miss Dash or potassium salt if you're somebody who is watching their blood pressure anyway. So hope y'all learned something today. That's your reset tip of the day that's gonna help you stay snatched all the time. Know that sometimes, please do not duck your salt. You can salt your food to taste. Cut out the processed foods if you want to cut anything out. Okay? Cool. Talk to you soon.